It's WG, bring your SMB, the newest unit, Fleeting Bella, just released, and you want to know, is she worth your summons? How good is she? Where do you use her? What can she do? First off, best of luck to all of you that used your free 10 pull. If you haven't yet, make sure you do. Let me know down in the comments below what you got. Me personally, I started off with an actual Fleeting Bella on my free pull, and we still have 40 more to go, which is just amazing. Alright, so now on to Bella. Here's the game plan. First we go over the abilities as well as what you should skill up for her. So skill up priorities. Then we quickly finish her off on how you build her. Then I'll be giving you a recommendation on how many of her do you actually need. And then now that we understand the kit and the like, I'll be showing you in which pieces of content you can use her and to what kind of success. Alright, now on to skills. It all starts with the very first skill because this is what pretty much everything is based upon. So let's read through it together. So you transform into Ginokyo, which is just, I guess, her puppet form, and then you possess an ally. This possession is very important. Furthermore, the moment you go into the ally, you heal yourself up for 460% of her attack, which means if she's like half health, she'll go to like full health, right? And then you get the buffs. All damage up major and attack speed up for 20 seconds, which are a 45% damage dealt increase, which works on any damage type, as well as a 50% attack speed increase, which does not stack with an attack speed increase major, but does stack with, for example, another source of attack speed like Van Helsing's attack speed during ult or even Gilrain's, right? So then you grant 2 stacks of Tidewolf Blessing to the ally with the lowest HP percentage, which means that ally is going to heal based on the special, we get there too, and also the possessed ally's attack increases by 25% of Fleeting Bella's base attack. The higher your Bella's base attack, the more attack you give to the ally. When possessed, the ally also deals, when they deal damage with their basic attack, an extra 92%, or obviously going up to 120% extra damage, while consuming a percentage of Bella's max HP. This can be triggered once every enemy for 0.4 seconds, which means you can technically trigger it for 150% of her max HP during possession. This whole thing lasts for 20 seconds, all buffs, everything else considered. So now let's make sense of one thing at a time, which is Tidewolf Prayer. When the battle begins, you can apply Tidewolf Blessing to allied units 1 tile away on both sides for 15 seconds. This is this buff right here. Fleeting Bella heals this unit every second. Her healing will automatically transfer to allies with a lower HP percentage, which is this 40% threshold. Once a unit drops below 40%, the Tidewolf Blessings move over. So that's the source of healing, and the way it works is the higher you upgrade it, the higher you heal per her like HP attack percent per second, right? So for example, if a unit has 2 stacks of Tidewolf Prayer, they would be getting healed for 144% of her attack. So that's Tidewolf Prayers, then you have a simple basic attack, and now, alright, so now what ties it all together is Unfulfilled Vows, the talent. You've seen that she can consume her own max HP to make your attack stronger during the ult, but then she obviously loses max HP, but she restores 5% max HP as long as she's not possessing. So as long as she's on the field, she restores 5% max HP per second, as well as also while she is in possession of your ally, that ally gets purified of debuffs every 5 seconds. So stuns, staggers, damage down, taunt, everything like that. And also Fleeting Bella becomes untargetable, so just because she goes into your Van Helsing does not mean if your Van Helsing gets hit, she gets hit too. She becomes untargetable, as well as also 6 seconds after her possession ends, giving her at minimum 30% max HP back before she can be touched again. So that are all her skills, and then the most important part right here is the fact that if you upgrade the ultimate, you do not increase this possessed ally's attack increase. So this attack increase here, or like this here base attack, minor. You cannot increase the value of the flat attack, also minor. And then this upgrade where you deal extra magic damage based on a basic attack is also on the minor end. So her ultimate isn't as important, but you can work on upgrading it. Basic attack, skip out on it as long as you can. The reason why it's on 4 is because it gives us a bit of extra BP. Tidewolf Prayer though is her main source of healing. So if you want to run her as your main healer, or a main healer with like a co-healer a cappella, which is kind of what she's all about, you do want to upgrade Tidewolf Prayer. So now that we have the skills, what is Bella? Bella is going to be either your main or secondary / co-healer, as well as also a single target buffer. She can only possess one unit at a time, make that unit stronger. But if you realistically think about it, in a normal team, even an acapella is only going to be buffing 2 units at the most, because those 2 would be your DPS. So for example, a Bella, Stereite, Iona, acapella, Lamia, Van Helsing scenario would only have 2 units buffed anyway. So it's not as big as a drawback as you might think, that she only boosts 1 unit. So now that we have this out of the way, one of the reasons why, I guess let's finish off the build, right? For me personally, I like to use the Fruit of Immortality because it allows her to just restore her health back up once she drops below 50%. But I feel like once we get to the Nightingale, which is the healer artifact, that one is going to be the better choice. But it is pretty open. It just doesn't make sense to give her a DPS artifact unless you're looking to get more attack, where this slight difference could actually make an impact. Gearing wise, the better gear you can give her, the more you get out of her. So if you can give her a high tier helmet or a high tier ring, she's always going to be more effective, because the higher her attack, the higher the attack she gives to the ally she boosts. And that also brings us to the siphons. So for Bella, because she is a summer limited, you want to get her at least once. Yes, you can do your free pulls and then decide, which I would recommend. So do your 50 free pulls, and then if you still haven't gotten her, you could do more, or if you've already gotten her, you could stop. But Bella, especially considering all the factors that she's a limited, her actual strength and the like, my recommendation is get minimum 1, and then 4 would be the sweet spot. 4 would be the sweet spot, would give you the biggest stat bonus, isn't too outrageous. I know getting to 4 is still very, very hard. Me personally, it took way too many summons, you don't even want to know. And yeah, 4 is kind of like the perfect place to be at. And also if you want like a quick, I'll do an in-depth difference between Lorelei and Bella, but I would rank Bella above Lorelei as like a quick no if you're wondering who you should go for copy-wise. So that is all that Bella is about. Now that we understand Bella, what can you actually do with her? So to understand what a fleeting Bella can do for you, you need to look at the key factors. And that is characters with strong basic attacks or basic attack kit focus will perform better with her. So prime targets are, the better your Van Helsing is, the more advantage you have from a fleeting Bella. The better your Lorelei is, the more effective a fleeting Bella will be for you. Even a Cyrene counts because of the basic attack focus. And then you also have the other candidates. Like if you have a really strong Gilrain or like using Gilrain, fleeting Bella will be amazing with Gilrain too. Same is true for also Joanne as well as Triss. So you currently have Triss, Joanne, Gilrain, Cyrene, Lorelei and Van Helsing. Those are the units that benefit the most from her, but now comes the important part. The reason why I say most rather than at all is, yes, while her basic attack only works or better works together with basic attack units, you still cannot underestimate a 45% all damage up bonus. You cannot underestimate a 45% all damage up bonus. So just putting her into, for example, a Lamia makes Lamia deal way more damage already, right? The main reason is just they can't take as much advantage of, number one, the extra basic attack damage, as well as also the attack speed increase, right? Attack speed increase only really works on characters with good basic attacks, or you could say with good specials based on how many basic attacks you're doing. Like for example, Lorelei can put people to sleep every 4 attacks, which means if she attacks faster, you put out more sleeps. So the better your basic attack related units, the better fleeting Bella is going to perform for you. Now the second thing you need to know is Bella is a healer and a buffer, but let's look at the category. So if Acapella is the best buffer, then fleeting Bella is the second best, and she's also more specific, but especially on like a basic attack focused character, she's better than Acapella, but she is more specific, and Acapella is still the best buffer. On the healer side of things, you still have Seth and Acapella, who are by far the very best healers, but then right below that you have a fleeting Bella. Fleeting Bella can at minimum compete with the healing capacity of an Edina, who's the third best healer. And but I gotta be honest, it's not really a competition between Edina and Bella. You would always pick Bella. There is one scenario where you don't like Bella, and that is AoE damage. So the thing that holds Bella back is the thing that makes her strong. Bella is really good at healing up to 2 targets. Okay, you could say 3. She heals herself naturally, but she's really good at healing up to 2 targets with her Tidewind Blessing, as well as also the potential to use the Tidewind Blessing during the ultimate. So that is where all her healing comes from the Tidewind Blessing, which is limited to healing at maximum 2 allies. So as soon as you're running into AoE damage, she cannot keep up against the Steroid. But there is a scenario where she out-heals both the Seth and the Steroid, and that is single target focused damage, you could say. I'll be trying to show you an example here. Alright, so for this example, keep in mind we're going to be crushed because we're very low on BP, but I'll hopefully at least be able to show off to you how this whole thing works. And yeah, so you see she applies the Tidewind Blessing. Once then one unit gets low enough that Tidewind Blessing would move over. You see how it's right here. And then once she possesses someone, look at the current stacks. You have 4 stacks of Tidewind Blessing on a single unit. 4 stacks. What these 4 stacks symbolize is 300%. 300% healing per second. One Tidewind Blessing is 72% attack every second, which means, at least at level 5/level 6, you would be looking at 300% attack based healing per second for a single target, important. And to put that into perspective, the healing from a Steroid Aeona only amounts to 50% attack every second. So 6 times that. Yes, minus the shield, but 6 times. When it comes to keeping a single target unit alive, especially without having to use a dedicated healer ult, I don't think there's anything in the game that currently does it as well as she does. Alright, so now let me show you what the new PvP meta, especially on the offensive side of things, is actually going to look like. So, and also, I guess to give you some gameplay. Keep in mind, this is, for example, the very first fight I played. We have Van Helsing as auto ult 1, Fleeting Bella as auto ult 2, and then I guess our Lorelei as 3, but it's not even that important. Now look at this, look at what happens. My targeting experience is, out of the 8 fights I've played, 7 out of 8 times Fleeting Bella actually buffed Van Helsing. So there seems to be some resemblance between having a certain amount of attack and getting buffed. So Van Helsing has his ultimate active, he starts shooting, but now look at what is going to happen to Van Helsing and his numbers. This is currently her transforming into Van Helsing. Now look at this. Not only does he get a 50% attack speed increase, but look at this. Even through a Seth heal, we obviously here have to sleep, but that is minor. Look at the damage. Almost 90,000 crit wise. And these fights, they end so quickly. Like, how quickly they end? I mean, look at this. We're just going to go into another fight. Once again, same scenario. Van Helsing, as I said, right? Like, the stronger your Van Helsing, the more impact you're going to feel. So right here once more, we start off with Van Helsing, so he can start attacking puppets, he can get his ultimate going. Then we activate the ability from Bella, and all of a sudden, look at that, he turns into a machine gun, and it's just over. It's just over, right? That is the burst potential that Van Helsing / Fleeting Bella combo has, like, innately in itself. Yeah, sorry for the war guideception, but here's another example. So this is tower stage 138. If you look at it, we're fighting at a 20k BP deficit, 94 versus 114k. So this whole thing even works on a BP negative. So this is the perfect rotation you want to pull off. You start with a cappella, which gives you more blood cell recovery, meaning you can get into your ults faster. Then you introduce the Fleeting Bella to the mix. You see how our Bella actually gets healed by massive amounts, allowing her to survive here longer. And then you finish it off by, you see, even with the ult cost going higher, we now have a Van Helsing. Look at all these buffs, right? You have the buffs from a cappella, you have the damage increase, you have the normal increase, you have the Blood Moon increase, you have the extra attack speed, you have his own attack speed from his abilities. And then look at this. This is just pure mania, right? This is how we, even at low BP, right? Even at BP deficits, this is like, if you can get this to work, your Bella just needs to survive for your Van Helsing to get going, and then, oh my, right? All the doors stand open to you. So this is not just a funny strat. This is actually something to be, to a degree, you could say, taken seriously, because there is some big boy numbers coming out there. And also what's great is that you see how fleeting Bella again, right? Like she's still here. Like the fact that she's untargetable can also save her from like a lot of damage, like for example AoE damage. Alright, so we've talked about general story, we've talked about her weaknesses, her strengths. Let's talk about the rest of the content here, right? Infinite Tower is basically like story, so easy to push, or like push in the same manner. Blood Arena, we already talked about it, she is pretty fucking broken. And then we have Tomb of the Fallen. So Tomb of the Fallen, Insatiate Spirit, she's going to be absolutely amazing, right? If for whatever reason you're on Insatiate Spirit, she's just a beautiful buffer, beautiful healer. Armored Spirit, good, like not enough damage from the boss anyway, so she can buff someone like Van Helsing, can buff someone else. For Child of the Plague, it depends. Like if you want to do, for example, the sword survival strategy, which I've shown off before, then you do need, for example, Asteriate Iona, because the healing doesn't quite cut it. But if you're just looking to get extra damage and the like, she works perfectly well here too. And at least for this boss, I know a lot of you aren't there, but we were able to use her to win, but she wasn't a super key part. So for bosses, it's not like you need her, but yeah, for like general progression for tower. Also, I've retested a lot of these Clannan stages, and the scores you can get with the Fleeting Bella are higher than the scores you could have gotten without her, right? So she's a net plus to your account, no matter what kind of scenario you end up with at the moment, as well as also, let me show you as like the last cherry on top, let me show you the disgusting Van Helsing Fleeting Bella combo, right? Like, Acapella, Fleeting Bella, or even, you know what, you can also add in a Siren once you get her. Like, this is disgusting. This should be illegal. So what we're going to be doing here is, yeah, showing off that combination. And trust me, you could buff anybody. Even a Gilrain would completely destroy these waves. But just so you get an idea. So we start off with Acapella. Then we wait for a bit of cost, because here we don't really want to waste the possession. So right here, obviously, this is whatever, right? Getting a Van Helsing upgrade is obviously nice. But here we start to possess Van Helsing. We activate Van Helsing's ultimate. We activate Acapella's ult. And then look at the kind of machine gun he turns into. And you know what? You can even give him higher range. Keep in mind, this is the highest possible time one stage. And you can also then use Siren if you have her to, for example, buff Van Helsing even more by applying the buff. And also her exclusive equipment is also really good. So he is going to do things you cannot quite believe. Like, he's going to kill people off screen. You don't even know what's going on. Right? This is disgusting. If you had any struggles with clearing time one Mausoleum, just get the combo ready, right? Especially once you upgrade this item, this thing isn't even fair. He's going to kill things off screen and you don't even know what's going on. Right? You can activate Van Helsing. I mean, there isn't much to say to it, right? It is one of the most disgusting combos you can do. I'm pretty certain buffing with an Acapella, a Siren, and a Fleeting Bella, with you can create the strongest unit in the entire game. And Van Helsing with these buffs, disturbing. Straight up disturbing, right? We could obviously run this whole thing through, but yeah, he can basically solo. He'll be killing stuff off screen and it won't even make any difference. So yeah, just as like the cherry on top, Time 1 Mausoleum, absolute crusher. So I hope I gave you an idea on why, how, when, what Fleeting Bella. And yeah, if you've enjoyed this video, let me know down in the comments below. And as always, we see each other in a more dedicated video either later today or the tier list, the updated summer tier list tomorrow.